Hi, my name is Zahra Atta, and I'm going to be talking about water. You guys are probably thinking, why is she talking about water? We have water every day. I think we know what water is. But water is actually a lot more complex than we give it credit for. 70% of our bodies is made of water, and it has a number of key roles. It acts as a solvent. Many chemical reactions take place in solution in our bodies, and it has a cooling effect when it evaporates. So this is why when we sweat, we cool down, because the water in our sweat is being evaporated off our bodies. On a more molecular level, water is a small molecule with 2 hydrogen atoms and an oxygen atom, which is why it's called H2O. So an oxygen atom has 8 positive protons in its nucleus, and a hydrogen only has 1 proton. So there's a slight negative charge around the oxygen and a slight positive charge around the hydrogen. This is because basically the oxygen, because it's more positive, pulls the electron from the hydrogen, making itself more negative and the hydrogen more positive. And this is because positives are attracted to negatives and negatives are attracted to positives. Because of this attraction, weak hydrogen bonds form between the water molecules. These hydrogen bonds are really weak, so this is why water is a liquid at room temperature, which is 25 degrees. These hydrogen bonds are the reason for a lot of water's properties, which I'm going to get into. So water is a really good solvent for ions, which are charged molecules. So either they have a positive charge or a negative charge. And this is because the water molecules are attracted to the charged part of these molecules, and they surround them, and that kind of makes them dissolve. For example, let's say you are trying to dissolve sodium chloride. So sodium chloride is what we use today as salt. It's made of sodium and chlorine, and for them to be bonded together, the sodium is a positive ion and the chlorine is a negative ion. So if it's in a solution with water, what's happening is the oxygen part of the water molecule is attracted to the positive charge of the sodium, and that is what makes it dissolve, and vice versa for the chlorine. The positive hydrogen atoms are attracted to the chlorine. The next thing I'm going to talk about is quite exciting. It's why when it's cold, the top of a pond can freeze, but the bottom is still liquid. So as water cools, the density increases and its maximum density is at 4 degrees. So the colder water sinks and it takes dissolved oxygen with it. So water below 4 degrees is less dense and it rises to the surface, and because it's so cold, ice forms. So to explain this in a simple way, as it's freezing, it forms a different structure, which is less dense, and it floats. And the floating ice insulates the water below so that the water doesn't freeze to the bottom. And that's why fish can survive in really cold temperatures, because the water doesn't freeze all the way to the bottom. Okay, so let's talk about the thermal properties of water. So as temperature increases, the water molecules move around more because they have more energy. And so as they move, the hydrogen bonds break, but they reform. So that's why it's really difficult for water molecules to escape the liquid phase. And that's why the boiling point of water is so high. So when water molecules eventually get enough energy to start to evaporate, they take a lot of energy with them. This basically means that water has a very high specific heat capacity, which means it can absorb a lot of heat energy without changing its temperature much. And that's why aquatic environments have more stable temperatures than terrestrial ones. So, next, I'm going to talk about the different ways that we can purify water, because it's very important that we have pure water, because water can carry all sorts of pathogens in it, and which can be very harmful. So, one of the easiest ways and reliable ways to purify water is boiling, but that uses a lot of fuel, and when it's really hot, I don't think anyone really wants to be drinking hot water. But it is a very reliable way to purify water. Another way is to use iodine solution, iodine tablets, or iodine crystals. It's really effective and convenient, and it's available in different forms, but it takes 30 minutes before you can drink the treated water, and it's not suitable for pregnant women, and it has an aftertaste that you might not like. But it is very effective in killing viruses and bacteria, very lightweight and very easy to use. Another way is using chlorine, which we use for all our pools. If you have a pool, that's what is most commonly used to clean the water. It kills bacteria, it's very affordable, and you wait for 30 minutes before you can drink the water. But if you put too much, it could also be poisonous, so I wouldn't really recommend using chlorine. The last way to purify water is using ultraviolet light. So it looks similar to a flashlight if you buy one, and you just swish it around in the water, and the bacteria can be killed really easily, and it's very easy to carry around with you and use. But you need batteries, and the solid particles in the water aren't filtered, so you have to do that yourself, which might not be very fun, but it's a way to purify your water. So you're probably now thinking, who is in charge of my water? Well, if you're in Nigeria, the water supply is entrusted to the state water agencies. They're the people who purify all the water and make sure that it's safe to drink straight out of the tap. In the UK, it's monitored by the Water Services Regulation Authority. So, safe to say that your water is being looked into. That's all we have time for. But thank you so much for listening. And I can't believe it's already been 8 minutes talking about water. And well, that in itself just shows like how amazing water is, something that we take so for granted. But it really is amazing. It's an amazing thing. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. My name is Romoke Adenuga, and today we'll be talking about medicine with
Dr. Babafemi Adenuga.
He is a U.S.-trained, board-certified family physician with over 20 years of practice experience. He is an associate professor of family medicine, and he recently served as special advisor to the governor of Ogun State on health from 2015 to 2019. Prior to this appointment, he served as the interim chair of Department of Community and Family Medicine at the College of Medicine at Howard University from 2010 to 2015, and the program director of the Family Medicine Residency Training Program at Howard University Hospital from 2004 to 2015. He graduated with a Bachelor of Medicine and Surgery, MBCHB, from the Babafemi Adenuga University, formerly University of Ife, in 1991. He has conducted and participated in several international medical missions, numerous health fairs, and given multiple health presentations. He is the recipient of several awards and honors. He was named amongst the top docs in the Washington, D.C. Metropolis and the Washingtonian Magazine March 2014 edition, and the Washington Post publication of Super Docs consecutively from 2011 to 2010. His interest lies mostly in the prevention and management of non-communicable diseases, health promotion, and maintenance of health. So let's get straight into it. First question is, how did you get into medicine?
Well, so thank you, Romoke, and I'm happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me. And I hope that through this, I'll be an inspiration to, or that we're able to inspire the next generation of folks.
Yeah.
Well, so my interest in medicine actually is kind of interesting because when I was in high school, I actually was more interested in engineering. And the reason being that I was quite good in math. I actually was very good in pure math, in ad maths, as it was called then. So it was just a natural fit for engineering. But I wanted to actually study aeronautical engineering, even though I had no knowledge of airplanes and how airplanes run. But that was actually my interest, was to go into aeronautical engineering. But my father, during our time, our parents were very much involved in terms of the choices that we made as far as careers. As far as career path. And my dad, for one, had said that first of all, aeronautical engineering, I could only study that abroad. I couldn't, there were no universities offering that course in Nigeria, at least to my knowledge at the time. And I thought that would be my ticket to live in Nigeria, to study in the US. So, but my dad refused blatantly, and he also had said that, well, that aside from the financial aspect, but then for me to be able to get a job in Nigeria, that was probably going to be very difficult because, the aviation industry had really not developed. Not that it's developed that much now either, but it hadn't developed at all at the time. And so he was just looking at the job prospects and all. I thought that wasn't really a good choice. I was devastated, and I was even like, you know what, there's no point in me continuing on with my education. But my mom, with her wise counsel, and obviously her self-interest, I would say, of wanting one of her children to actually study medicine. My elder sister at the time had dropped biology on purpose, so there was no cajoling into her wanting to study medicine. So with me, so that was I was the next fit for that. But thank God, with her perseverance and her I would say more of her encouragement, essentially.
Yeah.
I then now decided to go into medicine, which I have not regretted for one day. Just to cap that up, I would say that one thing that she said to me prior to her passing away, she's late now, as you know, was when she took ill towards the end of her life. She actually said that, it looks like God had you study medicine so that you'll be able to take care of me at the end of my life. So very touching, and I thought again that was almost like purpose-driven, at least from her perspective. So that's how I got into medicine, in a nutshell.
That's very interesting. So based on that, what were some challenges you faced being a doctor coming from Nigeria and going to America, and how did you overcome them?
So I would say that first of all, when I and you had mentioned in my bio that I studied at the Babafemi Adenuga University, which is now University of Ife. Which was formerly University of Ife.
Yeah.
After completing my medical degree, I had to do 1 year of compulsory rotational internship, which I did at the University of Lagos, Luth at the time. And after that, when I came to the US, so the first challenge was that I had to sit for the converting exams, which we call the USMLE exams. Again, coming from a different system, it was a bit of a challenge. But, because a lot of times you want to make sure that you clear those exams at just one sitting, which I did for one of the parts, but for the second part, I had to do it twice. During that time too, I lost my dad, which also created a further challenge. And I think that really was the problem with me having to sit for the exam twice. And then also, I had planned to actually study obstetrics and gynecology to pursue a career in that. In Nigeria at the time, I didn't really know much about family medicine. So, but on getting to the US, had to learn about it, or rather learned about family medicine. And, that captured my interest. Family medicine is one of those specialty aspects of medicine that actually encompasses all aspects. So basically, you are involved in the care of a patient right from birth to death, essentially. You also have the opportunity to take care of pregnant women and do deliveries, do minor procedures in their office, and basically practice patient-centered, family-based care.
Yeah.
So again, those were some of the challenges. I think one challenge that actually came to mind also was, or that comes to mind actually, was again, the culture of being accepted into the US culture.
Yeah.
I remember when I first came to the US, there was this family that I knew, and each time I met with them, they would always introduce me as a medical student, even though I told them that I was a full-fledged medical doctor. Again, there's just some perceptions around that this African kid being an immigrant, in the US, where they just couldn't understand that, yes, he's actually completed his medical degree and he has a medical degree. And, then the career path itself, becoming a program director, which again is one of those things that as an immigrant, you don't really find too much of folks. You don't even really find a lot of black physicians who are program directors, talk less of then now being a Nigerian immigrant or an African immigrant in that sort of position or as chair of department. So those are some challenges, that one faced. And, I would say that with hard work and with perseverance, and diligence, I would say, and of course with the grace of God, I was able to overcome those
challenges. Yeah, that's very good. So since you're an experienced doctor coming from Nigeria, going to America, what advice do you have for people who want to study medicine, specifically in Nigerian universities?
Right. So first off, I would say that, studying medicine, a lot of people just ascribe to the fact that, you have to be very intelligent to be able to study medicine. And yes, you have to have some basic intelligence, but intelligence is not it all, because again, the best doctors are not necessarily the most intelligent individuals. You would find that the best doctors are those who are compassionate, have a listening ear, and who are able to essentially ensure that all the resources that are available to caring for a patient are put in place, and be able to manage those resources accordingly, and then ensure that as you provide care, that you're providing care that is centered purely around the patient. And, then we talk about bedside manners. Again, those are the things that actually define really a good doctor at the end of the day. So my advice for those who have interest in medicine, first of all, you have to be consistent. You have to be a very consistent person. Medical education is lifelong, and learning is lifelong, essentially. So there is never a time that you would say that you stop learning. You're constantly learning, and you have to have that sort of mindset to know that you must stay consistent. And I think with consistency, there's absolutely no challenge along the way that you would not overcome. So, I think that, because what you find is that people go into career paths purely because they're thinking of the secondary gain. Can I make money in this? Can I, and you find a lot of, or you find quite a number of physicians today who, lack empathy, who don't necessarily have what it takes in terms of caring for patients. So it's almost like you lose that um, um, sense of humanity. In you. So, my advice again is that you must be diligent. You must also be of high integrity. You must stay professional in all that you do, and you must remember the nobility of of the profession itself. So those are the things that those are the kind of qualities that you need to bring with you as you go, or you go along this path, essentially.
Yeah. Okay, so based on all that, how have you given back to your community as a medical doctor?
So again, I look at myself and just, I think right from the jump, I think my mindset has been such that, given at all, it's something that I just so believe in. And I believe that to whom much is given, much is expected. And I look at my life and just really believe that, God has given me so much. Not necessarily in terms of material things, but just in terms of knowledge, in terms of ability to network, in terms of ability to call upon the resources that are available to me and to us as human beings, or even as physicians, if I'm to look at it specifically in terms of that. So in terms of my giving back from a medical perspective, I've participated in so many health missions, both here in America and abroad. I have been involved in a foundation that was eventually set up after several medical missions to Nigeria. Several parts of Nigeria, several states in Nigeria, where we've gone and given free medical care, essentially. We've done several surgeries. We've done several community outreach programs where we've distributed medications. We've done consultations. We've done, all the whole 9 years of medical missions. Then in terms of teaching as well, I've been involved in several opportunities where I've been able to give lectures, and basically professional advice as well. And I think constantly in terms of just caring for patients, and I look at, there's no one that I look at any different, providing just services to people in a very equitable manner. So, I've had several patients that have come from Nigeria who I've seen here in the US, some with really chronic diseases, some with cancer, some, and some who have been able to pay, some who haven't been able to pay. And it's a matter of just calling on the resources that are available from a systems-based perspective, so that way, we can get the care that people need. So, I find myself constantly just giving back, constantly just involved in caring for people. Even during this COVID-19 pandemic, I was in Nigeria and just giving of myself in terms of providing information to people and providing the necessary care as required. So, and I feel that, again, as medical doctors, again, or as a medical doctor, I would say, there's so much that is expected, and there's so much that I'm able to actually give of my time. So I'm always interested in terms of that. So that's just, I could go on and on, but just to keep this pretty simple, yeah. And I've also served as mentors to quite a number of people, both Nigerians and non-Nigerians as well, in terms of developing a career path in medicine as a whole, and then with family medicine in particular. So that's my story.
That's really good, because I feel like it's important to like also give back to your community in addition to also like, doing your job being a doctor. So that's inspiring.
So, and speaking of which, I did mention about foundation. I following the loss of both my parents, who both died from cancer, my siblings and I together, we've put together a foundation called Nuga Development Foundation, which basically are 3 areas of focus: are health, education, and agriculture, which kind of sounds a bit, interesting as far as those 3 different areas. But, when I look at, our parents, both were educators. Although my mom was more of a businesswoman, but at some point in her life, she was an educator. They both died from cancer, from different types of cancer. So again, and then my dad was an agriculturist, and, just looking at those 3 areas, we just thought that there's a way to be able to blend those 3 areas and provide, again, services to people, as we find the need.
Yeah, I like that. So do you believe COVID-19 can have positive effects on medicine in Nigeria?
Oh, certainly. I think that, the Nigerian health system clearly needs development. I wouldn't even say upgrade, I would say development, because we are still struggling with being able to establish a proper system. The system is fragmented at the moment, and that's why I said it needs development. And I think with COVID-19, what that has done, so what that has done is that, one, it shed some light on where the needs are. The short answer to your question is that, yes, I believe that COVID-19 can have significant effects, positive effects on medicine in Nigeria. And then the second aspect would be how so. How so just simply means that now, some light has been shed on our system. First of all, if you look at, the critical care in Nigeria, for example, you would see that we were quite deficient in terms of critical care. We don't have enough intensive care units. We don't have to be able to take care of very ill patients. We don't have even enough practitioners who are intensivists. We don't have those expertise. But those are all things that, again, can now be developed. Another very significant aspect of our healthcare in Nigeria that we're lacking is that we don't have a proper emergency response system. And it's not just about, being able to respond to emergencies, but even in terms of accessibility within the healthcare systems that exist. The emergency systems, or the accident and emergency units of most of these health systems is lacking significantly, which helps to even stabilize, patients initially before you then now get them in. So that's one aspect. Then there's the other aspect of which forms really the bane of any health system, primary care. Being able to ensure that we develop a well-connected primary health system whereby care is not fragmented, and within that primary health system, then you can then now have the secondary systems that then now develop outside of that. So there's still a lot that needs to be done as far as developing our health system, so that again, care is such that it's not just all over the place and it's not fragmented. Then of course there's also then the other aspect of revenue generation itself, that the how is health care paid for, so that you can ensure that everyone has the appropriate access that is needed. Because again, if you're able to develop a system and you don't have access to that system, then you have a gap there as well. So so there's a lot that COVID-19 has exposed, and there's so then there's now that next step in terms of that. How do we ensure that the will to begin to improve the health system happens? Then we can also talk about the human capital aspect. That's also another aspect that probably needs to, would be a discussion for another time. But yes.
Yeah. And just to wrap everything up, what have been some of the biggest lessons you've learned in your career?
So the biggest lessons. So I would say that and I've mentioned that already. Just saying that medicine is not just about the intellectual ability. There is the art of medicine. So there's science and then there's art. So the intellectual aspect, I would say, is probably more of the science, but really the biggest aspect of medicine is really the art of medicine itself. And the art of medicine, itself just has to do with being able to, as a physician, being able to listen and being able to care. So, in your listening, what you find out is that you gain so much knowledge about what needs to, because the most patients that come to you with issues or that you're caring for, most of the answers really lies within the story that the patient tells. So really, at the end of the day, what you're then now doing is that you're now just using that skill, that art that you've now developed, and you're just basically using the art to essentially now put what you've learned or the knowledge that you have. You're now using the art to put it to work. And because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that whatever care that you provide to people, that is effective care. So it's not just about someone came to see me and I prescribed XYZ. You have to also make sure that and that's why there's always need for continuity, because when you provide the care, you want to make sure that it's effective at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, and really that is the art of medicine, essentially. So that effective communication skill that you put into what you do, and in so doing, what you find out is that you would find patients who obviously are extremely grateful for what you've done, but then what you find is that you develop that trust with patients, which surpasses any sort of medication or anything that you do with a patient. So it's about developing that trust, and I think that's the biggest part of medicine. And I hope that with the new people that come up in the profession, that they will understand that the most important aspect of medicine is the trust that you develop. And so that way you're not just giving, care that is not sensitive, essentially.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for everything. Thank you for joining us today. I myself want to become a doctor, and everything that you've spoken about today has been really informative and inspiring, and I hope other people learn from it as well.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And I wish you all the best as well.
Thank you.
Take care.